Yo, what's up, y'all? It's the MMA Analyst, and I'm here to do another video. This time it's Strikeforce Fedor versus Rogers. Before I get into it, let me just say the whole Strikeforce thing, I'm really pulling for them. I'm hoping they can, can really, use this CBS platform, you know what I mean, to just go over to, to that next level. The thing we got to remember is, you know, let's use Kimbo for an example real quick. Kimbo is one of the most popular fighters in the world right now. They don't care if he wins or if he loses. They just want to see him fight. Um, they saw him on YouTube, and he was readily available, and he was exciting, and he was beating up bums. And America and wherever else, damn, this guy's a monster. Really, he's just a tough guy on the streets. And in MMA, he's not that tough. But he's working hard. But they don't even care about any of that. They said, we just want to see this guy fight. He's a beast. And he got that way just from being exciting and available. That's it. Just exciting and available. Now, YouTube is huge. The closest thing you can get to something like YouTube would be, network TV. You've got Fedor Emelianenko, very, very available for all fans, for anybody, for casual fans, for whoever. And then you've got his style, which is very exciting. If Fedor Emelianenko goes out there and does what I think he'll do, you're going to see him possibly 3 times, definitely twice, go out there against guys much bigger than him, guys who are imposing. Meanwhile, he looks, just kind of like the dude at the corner store, maybe a little rougher corner than normal. Anyways, and he's going to whoop people's ass. And just like with Kimbo, people say, ooh, damn, who the F is that? You know what I mean? Now, Kimbo is a little more imposing and a little more scary looking, but that's not going to matter because they're going to see somebody like Brett Rogers, 6'5", big black dude, roll up against this, this little dude that should be getting his ass whooped, according to people who don't know. The same guys who don't know, who thought that Kimbo could just roll into MMA and smash people. And they're going to think that there's a beast in the house. But this time they'll be right. And if he does that once on CBS, twice on CBS, by the time they get to that 3rd fight on CBS, it's really going to be against the monster. Alistair Overeem, if he can figure out how to fight in the States, if you know what I mean. And then at that point, if he wins that fight, then you're going to have one of the most popular fighters in the world who also happens to be the best fighter in the world. And I'm not talking about according to big fans, to big MMA fans. I'm talking according to regular old Kimbo's the best fans. They're going to be like, who the F's Kimbo? I'm a Fedor fan. That's what people be saying. But anyways, let's get right down to it, top to bottom. Fedor Emelianenko versus Brett Rogers. We don't really have to talk much about this fight. We're just going to say Fedor is 30 wins, 1 doo-doo ass, fake ass loss. It ain't even real, you know what I mean? He got cut in the eye 17 seconds into a fight. It was a tournament. And somebody had to move on, and it wasn't going to be with the guy with the gash over his face, you know what I mean? So he got the loss. But other than that, he's been smashing dudes ever since, and before that. Sambo black belt. He's like in Russia, they know this dude. And around the world, they know this dude. And in North America, they don't really know him as much. But we'll see what happens next. He's coming in here with the size disadvantage, but the everything else advantage. Except for maybe the scary factor. And really, that's all we need to talk about that. Brett Rogers, on the other hand, we're talking about a guy coming from the bottom, struggling. No, it's not really all that. I mean, he's a hard-working dude, Um, he's big. His 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 record consists of a lot of questionable competition, a lot of questionable dudes, uh, and then recently he's had some tests in which he's still, went through quickly. James Thompson was his first real test. Before that, he was fighting dudes that were wearing T-shirts, basically in like a cage that was like on dirt. And you thought that was Fedor, but no, I mean like he was fighting in these ghetto ass southern, or I don't know where were these fights? Minnesota. Wow, Minnesota had, man. You got to see the footage. You got to see the footage. Horrible. These guys were they would gas on the way to the cage, and it looked like a little dog cage. You know what I mean? Like I'm surprised they didn't have the roof over it. The little, it was bad. Anyway, so he did his thing in Minnesota, smashed a bunch of dudes, and then James Thompson beat him up real quick. John Murphy beat him up. This is all Elite XC. Um, then he fought Abongo Humphrey. Don't matter, beat him up. And then finally he got a real test. Andrei Arlovski beat him up. So, I mean, you really can't say anything about Brett Rogers except for you put somebody in front of him and he beat him up. It's not his fault that most of the time these guys were bums, but he beat him up. So now, he's got ground game. We haven't seen any of it. People said, Brett, what would you say your jiu-jitsu? What belt? He said, I don't really know about jiu-jitsu belts. I don't really rate myself. He said he doesn't watch Fedor's fights. He talking a lot of stuff too, like I'm gonna be the one to do this, and I'm a hard. He said I see a lot of holes in Fedor's game. Listen, you got guys like Bas Rutten and fighters and whoever who have watched every fight and watched it with dissected it with a fine-tooth comb, and they said I don't see any holes in his game. Brett Rogers only, according to Brett Rogers, saw the Arlovski fight, and he found a bunch of holes in his game. Well, good Lord, if ever you need to watch something else, it's now. Because if you think that Fedor is going to come into this fight the way he came into the fight against Arlovski, you're crazy. Fedor has two approaches to fights. The I respect your stand-up approach and the I do not respect your stand-up approach. Andrei Arlovski, Mirko Cro Cop. Those are the two guys that got the I respect your stand-up approach. The rest of the guys got the whooping. And basically, when he respects your stand-up, he comes out and he kind of goes, I don't want to just run into a fist. So he kind of, moves around and he kind of waits. And then, you might try flying knee, bow, out. You know what I mean? You might, try, boom, throw your ass through the ropes. So, that's what happens when he respects you. That's what when he respects your stand-up. When he don't respect your stand-up, you get Tim Sylvia, you get Zulu'd, you get Gary Goodrich, you get all types. He just come up and he said, because they go like ding ding ding, and then he walks up, and then in his head he hears another ding ding ding, and that's the real one. Like enough's enough. And then the other guy ends up going, oh man, what the hell just happened? I just got Zulu'd. So that's what's about to happen. Let me tell you what's going to happen in this fight. Exactly what's going to happen in this fight. You're going to see I somewhat respect your... I do not respect your stand-up, but I do respect your power. That's what he's going to do. And he's going to come out here, ding, ding, ding. And then, If he's walking forward, then Brett Rogers is in trouble. If Brett Rogers is backing up, he's in more trouble than he was even in the first place. If Brett Rogers is coming at him, it's a different story. But let's say he's walking down Brett Rogers. This is a cage, y'all. You're going to see Fedor in a cage. Here's what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, clinch, cage, takedown, night. That's it. I'm going to do it again. He's coming out. And he's going to do the jump. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is where he goes. See, he's going to go body, but it's going to be a higher body. Head, overhand, takedown. But like he's going to really push him up against that cage. Pull back, drop down, side control. At that point, he can decide to go to mount because Brett Rogers has 0 ground game. He can decide to just Kimura him. He can pound his face into the ground. He can armbar him. That would be very impressive. But it's going to be 1 minute long. 1 minute. And that's that. And people are going to go like that. People watching this fight. Oh, who's fighting? Ooh, that's a tough ass dude. Who's he fighting? Oh, I think I might have heard about this Russian dude. He about to get his ass whooped. Let's get it on. You know Big John McCarthy's gonna be on there. Oh snap! Oh! Yo, what you know about Fedor Emelianenko? That's what's gonna happen all over America. Next fight, we have, let's see, Jake Shields versus Jason Miller. Jake Shields, tough fighter. Mayhem Miller, tough fighter. They're gonna be fighting for a belt, so this is 5 rounds. I heard this was gonna be the main event, and the Fedor Rogers fight was gonna be like the second, the co-main event. That's kind of strange. It's called Rogers versus Fedor. It don't matter as long as you show the fights. Jason Mayhem Miller. Actually, let's start with Jake Shields. 23 wins, 4 losses. He hasn't lost since 2004. His losses have come to Kikuchi. He has a draw against Misaki. He lost to Ray Cooper back in 2002. And then he started his career off 3-2. He lost to Philip Miller and Andy Armendariz. Anyways, he's been whooping people ever since. He's got a black belt, Cesar Gracie. 10 submissions, 3 knockouts. Good fighter. Well-rounded. Got good wrestling. Very well-rounded. Just whooped on Robbie Lawler with the quickness. Walked up to him and just guillotine choked him. Just said, I got to go somewhere. Paul Daly didn't stand a chance. Walked in there. Armbarred his ass. Nick Thompson came down, guillotine choked him. Mike Powell went in there, rear naked choked him. Verissimo TKO strikes. He has been doing this thing. Carlos Condit beat him. So, he's been doing his thing. He was the Elite XC welterweight champion, and now he's fighting for the vacant Strikeforce middleweight belt. I would like to see these guys fighting for a welterweight belt, to be honest. But it is what it is. It's going to be a good fight regardless of what weight class they're at. Although I do believe that they are both best at 170. Jason Mayhem Miller, 22 wins, 6 losses. He's got 13 submissions, 4 knockouts. His most recent loss was to Jacare Ronaldo Souza. He also has a no contest in the last fight where he decided he was going to kick somebody when he was down. He lost to Frank Trigg back in 2006. He lost to GSP in the UFC. Lost by decision, but that was pretty much a butt whooping. He lost to Tim Kennedy, and he lost to Chael Sonnen back in his fourth fight. But in the meantime, he has taken out, Falinko Vitali, Robbie Lawler, um, Tim Kennedy, uh, Kella Hose. He's doing his thing. Also, um, black belt, jiu-jitsu, well-rounded. Um, it's going to be a pretty good fight. What's going to happen, that's a different story. I'm not exactly sure with this fight. In the end, I'm going to have to go with Jake Shields when it comes down to it. I think that Jason Mayhem Miller is going to want to keep this standing up. But eventually it'll go to the ground because he's just naturally, a much better ground fighter. And on the ground, I think Jake Shields is better. And I believe that it'll be Jake Shields by decision. Not really much to that fight. It's going to be a good fight. It'll be interesting. With Jacare being signed to Strikeforce, that's going to be great. Also, Marius Zaromskis. I always put an extra M in his last name, but he's a beast. And Strikeforce signed him, and he's the guy that ran through everybody in the Dream tournaments and just smashing people, knocking everybody out, doing backflips to pass the guard. They signed him, so that'll be a great fight for whoever. And by the way, I mean for us. And a tough fight for whoever. So, that'll be good to see who they can have try and take the belt from whoever is the winner here. But I do pick Jake Shields by decision. Now we got Gegard Mousasi versus Thierry Sokoudjou. Mousasi's a monster. Going out there, really trying to do his thing. He would have won this whole Super Hulk tournament. Right now he's 26 wins and 2 losses. His last loss was to Akira Gono back in 2006. And then he lost to Petros Markovicius back in 2005. Other than that, he's whooping on everybody. Makoto Takimoto, Hector Lombard. He really showed up, though. Like, he beat Evangelista Santos, that Cyborg, the male Cyborg. The male Cyborg. And then Dream 2 was when he said, enough is enough. I'm about to do something serious. He was the underdog against Dennis Kane, came out, submitted him. Then he beat Dong Sik Yoon. Then he triangled Melvin Manhoef, quickness. Then he beat Jacare with the up kick. And then, whoa. Then he Kimura Mark Hunt. And then he just smashed Babalu in like 1 minute flat. And now he's coming to take on Sokoudjou. Mousasi's doing his best to impersonate Fedor. And he's doing a pretty good job. He's looking very, very dominant and impressive and calm. And, similar way, Fedor goes out there, whoops somebody's ass, puts up his hand, a little teeny smile, and kind of just goes home. And Mousasi does the same, but don't ever give this guy a mic. He does speak a little bit of English, and they don't sound right. Just give him the gloves, and give him an opponent, and everybody will be happy. He's fighting Sokoudjou. Sokoudjou, obviously his career started off whatever, but then it took off with a bang when he beat Lil Nogueira and Ricardo Arona at Pride 33 and 34, knocked them both out in under 3 minutes combined. Then he came to the UFC and he was all ready to be the champ and thought he was a man. And Dana White said, you know what, man, we got to calm this dude down. Put him against Machida. And Machida shut that ass down. And ever since then, he's just been looking rough. He was gassing all the time. And, in the fight against Arona and Nogueira, they were quick fights anyways. So we weren't going to be able to see if he could gas. Gassed against Machida. Didn't matter, though. He was far inferior. Nakamura, he beat Nakamura, but again, that was first round type situation. Got knocked out against Louis Kane. Again, gassed out. Babalu, he was in affliction. He got tapped out by Babalu. And then he went over to the Super Hulk tournament and started going crazy on people trying to punch him after the thing. It got kind of old. after he beat Jan Nort, he tried to hit him with the referee jumping in the way, and then he tried to do it to Bob Sapp. So I don't know what this guy's thinking. But he's fighting Mousasi. This one will be quick. This one's going to be quick. We're gonna have Russians winning all night. He's definitely going to get smashed by Mousasi. Mousasi's pretty much better everywhere, except for if this was a judo match, and Mousasi still got some judo anyways. So what I see happening in this fight is I see Mousasi beating him in under 3 minutes, and I see him beating him by likely I would say like a Kimura. Mousasi by Kimura in under 3 minutes. Fabricio Werdum versus Antonio Silva. This is a tough one. Fabricio Werdum is very good. He's been all over the place. He's got 12 wins. He's got 5 losses. Recently, he submitted Mike Kyle with a quickness. In the UFC, he was doing his thing. I mean, he lost to Arlovsky in his debut, but then he beat Gonzaga for the second time, beat Brandon Vera, and then he got knocked out by Junior Dos Santos, and the UFC cut his ass for political reasons, I still believe. Anyways, he also lost to Nogueira, and he lost to Sergey Karatanov back in 2005 in Pride. Other than that, though, like I said, he beat Gabriel Gonzaga twice. He beat Tom Erickson. He beat Ebenezer Fontes Braga. He beat Skinny Overeem. Not the Overeem now, but the skinny ones. He beat Skinny Overeem. Still Alistair, but, skinny one. He beat Alexander Emelianenko, Fedor's brother. And now he's coming in with his black belt. He's pretty good leg kicks. And he was looking very in shape against Mike Kyle. And he's coming in against a monster in Antonio Silva. Let's see here. Antonio Silva got 13 wins, 1 loss. He actually he got busted for the roids, and he said, I didn't do anything. He went over and fought over in Japan and stuff. Came back, he said, all right, man, you can fight. He lost to Eric Pele. That's his only fight. Other than that, he also has to win over Tom Erickson, Rico Rodriguez, Justin Eilers, Yoshihiro Naka, Jim York. But pretty much, by far, this is his toughest test. Fabricio Werdum, it's a tough one, man. But when I put this through my head, when I say, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, I just keep thinking about 6'4", 267 pounds, and that's when he cuts. And he's big. And Antonio Silva's fast, and he's strong, and he's powerful. And he's got jiu-jitsu, he's got Muay Thai, he's got all the the components to make up a real good fighter. And it's been 3 years since he got beat by Eric Pele, and I don't see Fabricio Werdum winning this fight. I think Fabricio will get caught and then TKO'd. It's gonna be a good fight though. It's gonna be a nice one to open up the card with. And I'm excited for this card. I was gonna go see it, but they hadn't actually solidified enough fights, and it was like Mousasi's gonna be fighting TBA, and the undercard was a bunch of TBAs gonna be fighting somebody, and so it wasn't what I was looking for to be driving 8 hours. But I was gonna go. I'm gonna watch it. That's for sure. Everybody else should watch it. It's free. It's MMA. It's on your TV. And it's important, y'all. Peace.